Canada. Jeff, I want to say it is always good to see you, but not when we're covering news like this. Take us to Harlem. How have these schools and students been doing over the past few months? And I don't just mean your schools, I mean the highest risk schools out there.
Stephanie, I don't want to be even more, I think, alarming than the study you just sort of had cited. But this is an educational disaster. Students, if they're signing on, and we know a lot of kids aren't even signing on anymore, they are not being educated in a way that deals with any of their needs, not their emotional needs, not their needs to socialize, not their needs for exercise and movement, certainly not their academic needs. This is a disaster. It's a disaster for all children. But for poor children, you can multiply that times 5 or times 6. And we need to do something dramatically different as soon as humanly possible.
Are we doing anything different? In the spring, we had to shut down without much warning. Now we've had months to prepare. Do you think schools are in a better position now?
They are not in a better position. We still have huge numbers of children who don't have devices, huge numbers of children whose connectivity goes bad. And Stephanie, if you think of how many times you and I have to call our tech people in to try and help us, imagine trying to get an education with no one to call when you're having problems with your internet connection or with your devices. We have squandered the time that we should have been preparing this country to have its students online. But I have a solution. And it goes along with some of the reporting you all have been doing on MSNBC. Pfizer is going for their early use of their vaccine. There are 3.7 million teachers in this country. We should vaccinate every single teacher in America in December so that we can have our schools open with full students in them. Then we have to vaccinate the most vulnerable children because the science is clear. Children don't spread this among themselves, and the impact on them when they get it is not as dramatic as the adults. We could vaccinate every single one of our teachers, make that a high priority, and get our schools back open, get these kids back in the classroom so that by January, our schools are open and our students are learning again. What we're doing right now is a total disaster all over America.
Jeff, sounds like you could be the next education secretary. Is the Biden team talking to you?
Well, look, Stephanie, I don't want to start any trouble right now. I have a mission at my new institute to try and see if we can bring these comprehensive supports to children all over this nation. We have left schools on their own too long. We know that providing kids with a whole comprehensive set of supports in poor communities is the only way we're going to make up any of this learning loss. Look, our kids have now lost more than a year in the poor communities. We've got to make sure we create systems that support these kids. And that's what I'm going to be doing for the next 5 years of my life, trying to make sure education has the help it needs so that these poor kids can succeed.
And I am grateful for the work you're doing. We keep focusing on what students are missing in the weeks or months that school is online. But can you talk about the long-term impact this could have on their lives?
This is the thing that's so frightening to me, because our kids are really facing trauma. You have to understand, you're traumatized as a kid. You're told not to take your mask off because you might get your parents sick. You know, those kids take their mask off, so they're living with the guilt, the fear. God forbid their parent gets sick. Now they're worried they did it. They don't feel like they can go out and be safe. They're missing all of the interactions that children need to form social relationships. If you think it's bad at those high school, the kind of emotional problems kids are having, wait till they do the studies in middle school and elementary schools, because we know this toxic stress, it shows up for years. Just think of post-traumatic stress disorders and what happens when our soldiers come back from war. 6 months, a year, 5 years later, they're still dealing with the fear, the dread, the emotional turmoil. We have millions of kids living with that kind of fear. They're watching people die. They're hearing the ambulances going by. Their parents are frightened and they don't know how they're going to eat. They don't know how they're going to pay their rent. They know their families are literally coming apart around them. And this trauma doesn't go away with a counseling session or two. We need to provide millions of our kids with long-term mental health support so that they can try to recover from this trauma, which is really devastating young people all over this country.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.